Beyond belief, astonishing tales from the Mafia's underworld. In the shadowy world of the Italian Mafia, the line between reality and fiction often blurs, giving rise to tales that are as astonishing as they are unbelievable. From audacious exploits to brazen acts that defy logic, the Mafia's history is riddled with stories that seem too wild to be true. Whether it's outlandish schemes to evade law enforcement or shocking incidents that crossed unthinkable boundaries, these narratives showcase a side of the Mafia that goes far beyond conventional criminality. Number 1. Paul Castellanos' affair and loss of respect. Paul Castellano, who took over the Gambino family after Carlo Gambino's death in 1976, was involved in both criminal activities and legitimate businesses. Known for his aversion to unnecessary violence and desire for privacy, Castellanos' leadership was always under scrutiny. However, it was his affair with his Colombian maid, Gloria Olarte, that significantly undermined his authority. Mafia culture, while permissive of extramarital affairs, demanded discretion and respect towards the wives of mobsters, who were seen as maternal figures. Castellanos' blatant affair, conducted openly in his family home, was viewed as a deep insult by his subordinates, comparable to disrespecting their own mothers. This loss of respect among his loyalists was a key factor in his downfall. In 1985, rival John Gotti orchestrated Castellanos' assassination, partly due to Castellanos' stance on drugs and street crime. His blatant disrespect for Mafia decorum made other New York gangsters indifferent to his demise. Number 2. Neil Delacroce, the ironic priest disguise. Aniello Neil Delacroce, whose name translates to Little Lamb of the Cross, starkly contrasted his Catholic-rooted name as an underboss for Carlo Gambino in 1970s and 80s New York. Infamously, Delacroce committed murders while disguised as a Catholic priest, going by the name Father Timothy O'Neill. This macabre tactic highlighted his brutal approach to organized crime. One notable instance, detailed in Sal Policai's The Sinatra Club, describes how Delacroce's men violently extracted information to locate a rival, who was then unceremoniously killed. Despite his seemingly religious alias, law enforcement viewed Delacroce as a menacing figure. In a 1985 Time magazine article, an FBI agent described him as a dark angel at the moment of death, while NYPD detective Ralph Salerno, cited in Selwyn Rob's The Five Families, called him a cold-blooded killer and one of the most daunting mobsters he had ever faced. Number 3. Luchano and Lansky, an unlikely alliance. Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky's notorious partnership began under unusual circumstances, as detailed in Robert Lacey's biography Little Man. Their first encounter occurred when Luciano attempted to mug Lansky on New York's Lower East Side, assuming Lansky would be an easy target. Contrary to Luciano's expectations, Lansky staunchly refused to hand over his money and stood up to Luciano and his gang. Impressed by Lansky's bravery, Luciano not only let him go but also later proposed a partnership. This alliance was formed based on their mutual disdain for Lower Manhattan's Irish gangs, who frequently targeted both Jews and Italians. The partnership between Luciano and Lansky extended well into their adulthood, significantly shaping the New York Mafia in the 1930s. Together, they orchestrated hits on rival bosses and collaborated on various criminal enterprises, including bootlegging and gambling, marking the beginning of a powerful and lasting alliance in organized crime history. Number 4. The Brooklyn Miracle and Mafia Retribution. In 1952, Brooklyn's Regina Pace's Catholic Church experienced what was dubbed the Brooklyn Miracle when stolen jewel-studded gold crowns, blessed by Pope Pius XII, mysteriously reappeared. The crowns, part of a statue of the Virgin Mary, were taken from the church but returned via mail 8 days later, without police intervention. For days before their return, thief Ralph Emino, known for a $35,000 gold and platinum heist in 1947, was found dead, leading police to suspect his involvement in the crown theft. In 1962, FBI informant Gregory Scarpa revealed that Mafia boss Joe Prophesy, a devout Catholic and patron of Regina Pace's, had ordered Emino's murder and the crown's recovery as retribution for desecrating the church. Prophesy's men recovered the crowns and anonymously mailed them back from Manhattan. The church's pastor, Monsignor Angelo Ciaffis, declared their return a miracle, celebrated by the Catholic community. This incident highlighted the Mafia's respect for certain sacred institutions, a sentiment that led to the recovery of the crowns after a second theft in 1973. Number 5. Mafia's retaliation for Nuns Assault. In 1981, a horrific assault on a nun at East Harlem's convent of Our Lady of Mta Carmel in New York led to an unexpected response from the American Cosa Nostra. The attackers, Harold Wells and Max Lindemann, left 27 crosses etched into the nun's body, inciting public outrage and a $10,000 city reward for their capture. Nicholas Pileggi, in his biography of New York City cop Bo Dietl, One Tough Cop, revealed that the Mafia, still deeply tied to Catholic traditions, reportedly issued a $25,000 hit on the perpetrators. This act was a testament to the Mafia's code of conduct, which deemed the assault a grave violation of sacred boundaries. The fear of the Mafia's involvement contributed to Wells' eventual capture in Chicago, where he confessed. Both Wells and Lindemann were convicted, receiving sentences of over 15 and 20 years, respectively, for their crimes. This incident underscored the Mafia's influence and their adherence to certain moral codes, even in their criminal world. Number 6. Vincenzo Laporta's soccer-driven capture. Vincenzo Laporta, a member of the Neapolitan Camorra and wanted for money laundering, tax evasion, and fraud, evaded Italian authorities for 11 years until his passion for soccer led to his downfall. Despite being sentenced in absentia to 14 years, Laporta remained undetected until 2023, when his love for SSC Napoli, Naples' soccer team, exposed him. Celebrating Napoli's first Italian Serie A championship win since 1990, Laporta was spotted on social media waving a Napoli scarf from a restaurant balcony on the Greek island of Corfu. This moment of unguarded enthusiasm caught the attention of the police, leading to his arrest. Attempting to escape on a motor scooter, Laporta was apprehended on the island. His lawyers are now contesting his extradition to Italy, citing humanitarian reasons, as he has established a family in Corfu, including a 9-year-old son. Laporta's capture highlights the risks of letting personal passions override caution while in hiding. Number 7. The 'Ndrangheta and the Madonna of Puli. The 'Ndrangheta, a dominant criminal syndicate in Europe known for drug trafficking and high-profile crimes, integrates its activities with veneration for the Madonna of Puli in Calabria. This mafia group conducts meetings and rituals near her sanctuary, viewing the Madonna as a protector of their operations. However, the Catholic Church has countered this by removing Madonna statues from public spaces to prevent mafia gatherings and banning 'Ndrangheta members from religious processions with her statue. The church also altered procession routes to prevent the inadvertent blessing of mobsters' homes. These efforts are to separate the 'Ndrangheta's activities from religious practices and symbols. Number 8. John Ferracci's failed military service plea. In 2002, 79-year-old Bonanno hitman John Ferracci stood before Judge Leo Glasser, known for sentencing John Gotti to life, facing conviction for attempting to bribe union officials. Glasser, critical of Ferracci's continued involvement in organized crime, urged him to reconsider his lifestyle. Ferracci's lawyer, Vincent Romano, pleaded for leniency based on Ferracci's military service, highlighting his Bronze Star for heroism during World War II's Battle of Normandy. However, the details of his military involvement were unclear, and this argument failed to sway Judge Glasser, who himself was a World War II veteran. Dismissing the plea with a terse "so did I," Glasser showed little patience for the defense. Ferracci, attempting to show remorse, apologized for wasting the court's time and causing family distress, but his plea for mercy based on his military service was ultimately unsuccessful. Number 9. Bernardo Provenzanos' old-school mafia tactics. Bernardo Provenzano, who led Sicilian Cosa Nostra from 1993 until his 2006 arrest, notably ran the syndicate using 2 typewriters, a dictionary, and annotated Bibles. Avoiding modern technology, he communicated with his subordinates via pizzini, small notes typed and folded to fit between toes, employing a cipher that offset letters by 3 numbers, e.g., A became 4. The Bible's role in his operations was ambiguous. Provenzano used them to copy verses and assign religious aliases to his contacts, such as the adored Jesus Christ. Despite the discovery of these Bibles at his hideout, which was adorned with crucifixes and images of Saint Padre Pio, authorities haven't deciphered any specific code in them. It's possible that his Bible annotations were simply personal reflections, as he was known to be devoutly religious, regularly engaging in religious practices. Number 10. Mafia's role in the 1943 Sicilian Invasion. The 1943 American invasion of Sicily was partly successful due to Mafia assistance, orchestrated by Lucky Luciano, who was recruited from prison by the Office of Naval Intelligence. Luciano facilitated American intelligence connections with Sicilian criminals to support the invasion. This alliance led to the resurgence of the Sicilian Mafia, which had been suppressed under Mussolini's regime. Post-invasion, the OSS, precursor to the CIA, rewarded the Mafia for their aid by reinstating their control in Sicily. Notable Mafia figures were given local offices and authority over various sectors. Don Calogero Vizzini became mayor of Villalba, drug trafficker Max Magnani oversaw pharmaceuticals, and others controlled wheat supplies. They operated as U.S. Army employees, running criminal activities with minimal interference. In recognition of his services, Luciano was released from prison in 1946. This move by the U.S. inadvertently bolstered the Mafia's power in Sicily post-World War II. Number 11. Sicilian Cosa Nostra's attack on the Popes Basilica. In 1993, the Sicilian Cosa Nostra orchestrated a symbolic attack with car bombs near the Papal Archbasilica of St. John Lateran in Rome, the historical seat of the Pope. This attack was a response to two key events: the arrest of Cosa Nostra boss Salvatore Riina after 20 years of evasion and Pope John Paul II's condemnation of the Mafia during his visit to Sicily. The Pope's denouncement, following the murder of anti-Mafia officials, had energized the anti-Mafia movement. The bombing represented an unprecedented move by the Mafia, which traditionally showed reverence to religious figures. Despite some mobsters' devotion to saints like the Virgin Mary and Saint Padre Pio, the Mafia sought to intimidate the church into silence. However, their tactics proved ineffective, as Pope Francis later intensified the church's stance against the Mafia, warning them of eternal damnation without repentance. Number 12. Anthony Raymondi's claim of involvement in Pope John Paul I's death. In 2020, former Mafia hitman Anthony Raymondi claimed on the Jordan Harbinger show that Pope John Paul I, whose papacy ended after 33 days in 1978, didn't die of a heart attack but was murdered. Raymondi alleged the Pope was planning to expose a massive stock fraud orchestrated in 1975 by Vatican bank head Paul Marcinkus and others, including Raymondi's supposed cousins. The plot to murder the Pope was to prevent him from defrocking and excommunicating those involved, which would leave them vulnerable to US and Italian authorities. According to Raymondi, Marcinkus used potassium cyanide to kill the Pope, a claim somewhat supported by the Pope's darkened fingernails, a potential cyanide poisoning symptom. Raymondi asserted he refused direct involvement but was prepared to testify the murder was humane. He also claimed there were threats to kill Pope John Paul II when he intended to investigate the matter. Raymondi's story, while sensational and largely unverified, adds a layer of intrigue to the mysterious death of Pope John Paul I.